Hey, you're listening to the Lights Girl Talk podcast. My name is Carol.
This is Alicia.
Hey, I'm Tricia.
And today we are talking about what we have learned in the last month.
Hard to remember.
It is. And I don't think we take time to reflect. It's been a couple of months ago, maybe even a year ago. I was reading this blog, and this particular blogger, like every month, says, what did you learn? And what have you learned in the last month? And it made me kind of mindful of there are some things that I have learned in the last month. But one of my big takeaways for the last couple of months is technology is a tool, not a master.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I am a gadget junkie. Y'all know. I have 2 cell phones. Not one, but 2 cell phones. And people are like, why do you have 2? And it's because when I lose one of them, I can call the other one and find it.
Oh, I do that all the time at home.
But really, it is. I mean, there is so much technology. I have all the little gadgets. I love them. But they have become too much of a master of my life instead of just a tool. Because I think originally when they came out, they were designed to be tools. They were designed to help us, keep better management of our calendars and not forget important dates.
They were supposed to help us save time.
And now they swallow our time.
That's right.
Exactly. So one of my big takeaways has been, it started like, I think I shared this with you guys when I did it, but I read this article that said if you turned your phone to black and white, the grayscale setting, you would look at it less often.
Oh, really?
And so I tried that. I did like a mini science experiment with myself just because I'm weird that way. It went great. I did not look at my phone as much.
Really?
Something about the colors are attractive, and that makes you look at your phone more. And so I changed it to grayscale, and you can see. I'll show it to you right now. Yes, it still is.
Look at that.
Drives my daughter crazy.
It looks so boring.
Yeah, it is boring, and that way you're not,
You're not attracted to
it.
It's addicting. And I say that in all seriousness because we have gotten addicted to all of, it's a tool for everything. My husband and I were talking last night on the porch. We were sitting outside. The kids were playing in the yard. It was a gorgeous day out, and we were just enjoying kind of catching up after the day. And he needed to look something up. He goes, okay, I'm just going to look it up right now. I said, can you wait and look it up in a few minutes or when we're done? Because I'm just enjoying this moment. Yeah. And he kind of shrugged his shoulders a little bit because we've learned that instant gratification of if there's a problem, something on our phone can solve that problem. There's information that we can find anywhere.
Click of a button. Yeah.
And he likes to solve problems right when they happen.
Yeah.
And I'd rather write it down and then go later and go try to go look it up. Or that's what I'm trying to get better at. Because when we're always going to the phone, and it's like, no, let's. And we have a rule when we go to a restaurant, no one can use a phone at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Because that drives me crazy. And I know there are times when you really, you need to distract your child or, you need some help if there are things that happen at restaurants. But that's kind of what we try to set so that we can enjoy the time there. I'm like, I'm paying for food and this time.
Experience, yeah.
The experience. I want us to have a conversation. And we do that at the regular dinner table, too. We don't have phones there.
Well, and the latest iPhone that's coming out is having those, even Tim Cook said, I spend too much time on my phone.
Yes.
I mean, well, he wasn't the creator, but the guy who's in charge of the company basically says, I spend too much time on my phone, and there are going to be some stopgaps put in place to kind of measure the time. I think we would be shocked if we knew how much time we spend on our phones.
Well, we have.
Sure, you're right.
Yeah, my kids just got a new video game system, and it has a parental control, and it can show how many hours that each child plays. And one day we saw 3 hours, and I came home and I said, "What? 3 hours? That oh my gosh, that's ridiculous!" And it ended up that they didn't play that long, but it just calculated that it was on. But that really alerted me to, and we have time limits on that type of thing, but I think it can so easily, if we had a time tracker on how much time we're on our phone, we would probably all be blown away.
Yeah.
We do a similar thing with our kids with technology. And here's what I've noticed, that if they're on for, let's say, over an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours or more, their mood is terrible.
Yes.
They fight. They can't seem to come up with any problem-solving ideas, like things to do together to enjoy the time. They just argue with one another. So imagine what that's doing to us, because we're looking at our phones for an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever. So it's got to affect us in a similar way.
Well, and they even have settings that the phone will dim at night. So because you're not supposed to read this type of screen right before you go to bed.
It wakes you up. It stimulates you, for sure.
Well, that kind of leads me into my second thing that I've learned. And I don't mean for this to turn heavy because, I like to laugh. So y'all help me. But the second thing I've learned, and I'm not going to cry. The second thing I've learned is that you never know when it's the last.
Yes.
There are some situations going on in my life right now that, my dad is not in good health. And I was just so moved by this the other day as I was sitting with him there at home. And nobody tells you it's going to be the last time that you'll, get to celebrate a birthday, or, you very rarely know those things. And so I was sitting with him the other day, and it was like more than I could handle, that's just the emotion of it. And so I got on my phone to escape.
Yes.
And I just very clearly felt God was speaking to me going, this, we're coming up on the last. And you won't know when it's the last. Will you have wanted to be sitting here looking at Facebook rather than sitting here looking at your daddy?
Wow.
And
That's
so
a gift, though. That was a gift for you in that moment.
It really was. And so I put my phone away, and I've been so trying to pay attention to the details of that moment, because I've talked with friends who've lost friends or family members, and it's those little things that you remember. The way that he laughed, or the jokes that he would tell, or the different things like that. And even in the last week in friendships, it doesn't even have to be a parent, but there have been some tragic losses. And it just has been on my mind so much that you just never know when it will be the last. So make the most of every moment that you're given. And
if we could do that.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
And I feel like technology has taken me away from enjoying those moments. I'm kind of mad at technology right now, honestly. I love it, but I'm kind of mad at it because I think, what have I missed staring at a screen? What have I traded in for Facebook? I mean, what have I traded in to find out what you had for lunch? I mean,
right. I find myself spending time clicking through what Kate Middleton wore before she was a royal. Like, why should that take 30 minutes away from my family or my friends or things that I need to do around the house? There's plenty of those. Just because I'm letting something draw me that doesn't have any relevance in my life whatsoever. Carol, I'm really glad you shared that, because it's a great reminder to make those moments count. And it's true also, even in parenting. I heard someone say, one day there'll be no more soccer practices to go to. There will be a last time you take your kids to the park. There will be the last time that you get ice cream together before they, don't want to go with mom and dad anymore or something.
Someone this story the other day is that my daughter's 9 now, and she's growing so quickly. Yeah. And for the last several years, she loves for my husband to carry her up the stairs. And she's, as she was getting bigger and heavier and just growing up, he's like, oh no, not tonight, or I'm too tired, or you're getting bigger. Yeah. It's getting harder for daddy. And I said, you need to do it, because there's going to be a day when you are not physically able to carry her up the steps. And we are at that day. If there was an emergency, he could grab her and get her out of the house. If there's a fire or something, he would pull it together and do that. But she's literally too big to carry up the steps to go to bed now. And so I think it's that reminder of just doing it while you can, enjoying it while you can, because even if it's not death, there's transitions in our lives that end. And I have my nephew just moved away. He graduated college, moved across the country as far as he could possibly go. And his parents are a little upset about that. They're glad for him. They're grateful that he's living his life. And his mom wrote the most beautiful post on Facebook about taking him to the airport and saying goodbye. And she just wrote a little note, a reminder to the younger moms of, if you're watching that show for the last, for the millionth time, or you're tired of this, or you're doing the late night feedings, one day you too will be moving your child across the country or wherever they may be going. So savor it. Even the times that are hard, you're going to miss those later.
Sure.
I've been learning, based on what we're learning lately, I've been learning to be thankful. And that helps me enjoy those moments, because I've got a little guy, he likes me to read to him in bed. But I'm telling you, I'm tired at the end of the day, because I get up really early. And, so oftentimes I say, let Daddy do that. Or I'm like, well, you can do it yourself, buddy. Good guy. Love ya. Good night. Right. Or even I fall asleep and I'm drooling before it's time for that. But I want to be grateful for those moments and do them as often as I can. I still can't always do it, but if I can do it, I want to be grateful for it and be present in that moment, because there will be a time where he's not going to want me to read to him in bed, and Snugglebug will be no more.
Yeah.
And that just, wow. So learning to be grateful in general is what God's teaching me.
Yeah.
And it changes everything in my perspective. I can have the same day in terms of doing the same exact activities in the day, but if I start the day thanking God for the day, for the opportunity, for the relationships, for the house, for the job, for the friends, for the whatever it is, I will be so much happier on the day that I started with gratitude than the day I just roll into it.
It sets you on a course, really.
It does.
Yeah.
I try to do that right before my feet hit the floor. Is just say thank you for today.
Yeah.
And it kind of just changes your whole mindset. And because I think as moms especially, we wake up and there's how many things you have to do to get until you're at your at work, or your kids are at school, or whatever it is that you have to do that in the morning. It's boom, 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 boom. You've got this whole thing of things to do. And if you don't take that time, your whole day could be different.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I love the radio station, too, honestly. I listen to it all the time because it sets me in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
I'll listen to a song and it'll say, "Great are you, Lord," or, or our God. And so you start that day praising and getting into that right frame of mind, and then things fall into place so much better.
Yeah. Anything you've learned that you want to share with us?
It's the last month I think I'm learning to be more present, because we just we're going through this time in our life with our kids. They're transitioning into different stages in their life. I've got kids at 2 different schools, and elementary and middle school are just so different. And so we used to do things together. Everything was together. Bedtime was together.
Yes.
Well, the ages, it doesn't necessarily make sense to do it together, and there's a little bit of fighting at night. And so we've had to change that. And I don't like to have to change our routine. Our bedtime routine was wonderful, and I wanted to keep it that way. So I'm learning to adjust and to just be more flexible to what they need. And it may not be what I need at the moment, but I'm trying to find to kind of release that and say this is a new time, and that we have to do things a little differently. But also to be present. So in the evening before bedtime, we all get together and we kind of quiet down together. And it's important for the kids, I've realized, that we do that, and no phones. And the other night I was sneaking the phone while we were watching some show together, and I think it got to a commercial or something, and I picked up my phone, and my daughter, she's like, "Mama, you're on your phone."
She called.
I was like, I'm not. I'm putting it away. But she noticed, and I was trying to hide it, and it was only a minute.
Yeah.
And to her, that was very important.
Yeah.
She didn't care what I was looking at. And it didn't matter to her if I was looking up something really important or checking, because sometimes I have to explain, oh, this is work, or this is, there's a reason, or it's, Daddy I'm talking to. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They see it as a distraction from them, that it's like an affront to you spending time with them.
Maybe more important than them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's been a big adjustment for us, and it's changed things so much. They've now realized, oh, okay, we're all doing this together, and we're here together, and you're paying attention to me, and the attitudes kind of changed with that too.
Yeah. That's powerful. What are you learning, or what have you learned in the last month? We'd love to hear all about it. You can email me at carol@thelightfm.org, and we will see you next time back here for the Girl Talk podcast.